Hello, hello, Iris here. Welcome back to my channel. I know things have been a bit quiet around here. I've been taking care of some stuff offline. And today I want to share with you guys a flip through of what I do with my kids' albums. This is coming out in conjunction with my friend Theresa Moxley's new class. It's called In My Pocket Kids Album Edition. I'm so thankful she invited me to contribute to the class. It's hers that she developed, and she invited 5 of us creatives to do some input to show the different perspectives on what we do with our kids' albums. I'll tell you more about that as I'm going through. This is the big albums that I've dedicated to my girls, and for each of them I've color coded. I have a year 1, which is their baby album, and then I will have successive volumes. So this will change to be volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, and so forth. And I just did a reorganization. I call it the big album reorganization of 2019 this summer, and I do have that. I videotaped most of that process. It's going to be a series of videos. I'm still working on that. I'm hoping to bring that to you next month, and that's why I decided, let me go ahead and do concentrate on the kids albums now, and then I can give you a big overview of all my albums, and then maybe I can do flip throughs of different categories. But let's get started, and I'll go over the obviously I'm going to show you what's in these, some organization tips and tricks, and my philosophy on my kids albums, and that's what the class goes over. I know Theresa is just the master at planning out albums, so she will have her system laid out for you, and she'll have each module's different, and each creative person contributed different things to their module. I know I'm in the organization module, and I decided to do this video. Now hopefully everything's gonna be on camera. Let's start with my daughter Claire's year 1 album. And like I said, the videos will be coming for how I reorganized everything, and including how I made these cute personalized spine labels. I will have templates for different types of albums because I have several different types, and I had requests for others that I didn't even do myself, but I'll have templates and resources for fonts and so forth. So my older daughter, she's 16 right now. This is her baby album. I called it year 1. And both of my kids will have similar things in their baby albums. I at one point made a list of milestones that I wanted to make sure I capture. I can't find that list, surprise. But my overall philosophy really is scrap as I am inspired to scrap. And it's a very fluid, ongoing system in my albums. I can't get this little thing off there. Where I'm open to, basically the 3 ring binders are a must for me. And I scrap whatever I'm just inspired to scrap at whatever time, and then I weave it in as is, because I do like to file away chronologically. So I have an opening page, just a nice black and white photo with their name, and this is way back, and I started scrapbooking in 2005. She was born in 2003, so this would have been 2005. I think that's just a die back then. And then I do have a spread about the pregnancy. This is it in terms of photos I took during the pregnancy. Back then we had a little point and shoot. You had to develop them, and we just didn't think about scrapbooking the everyday, capturing tons of stuff. So that's all I have. These are even originals. This is just a little booklet. I'll need to slide or cut this. It has that what to expect when you're expecting pregnancy journal. It just got pages from all my visits to the doctor. And I did a lot of journaling. That's the extent I have pre-born about the pregnancy. I do have a little bit about, we did her nursery. We made a mural, so you have to finish scrapping that. I made the bumper and valence and all that themed. These are little pieces of fabric. So that's what I've got here. I do have 2 baby showers. There's one here. I have this cut here because this also has journaling. And then this one's supposed to be, this is like these are supposed to be facing each other, and this is a flap, and I gotta fix that. So like I said, my philosophy is scrap what you're inspired to scrap whenever you are, and then I just file chronologically. I have a loose plan of what I know I want to do. I did her name, birthstone, flower, and sign. And then I have here, for instance, first bath. But otherwise, I don't have like a really concrete, this is the plan, this is what I'm sticking to. And I don't have a problem with interweaving newer layouts, say like this one, with the older ones. So this is one I made earlier this year. It's meant to be an overview of month one. Basically, I picked my favorite photos, and then my plan is to make some project life pages or pocket pages to do more of the little stories about month one. And then of course I've got one thing already that happened that month, it's not even dated, which was her first bath. And then I'll have another opening set for month two, some pocket page stories, some individual big full layouts of individual stories that I have for that month. And then month three, month four, I might have dividers. There's Becky Higgins plastic dividers that I could use, or maybe just put tabs in the opening double page spread. So that is roughly what I have planned. Oh, this is backwards. Roughly what I have planned for the baby albums. And like I said, one time I did make a list. This is just cute photos I wanted to scrap. This is an introspective page about how I wanted my kids to have blue eyes like their dad, but they have brown eyes and I love them. A cute mannerism that she did for about a week. So this gives you an idea of the types of pages I do. I intermix events like that first bath with personality pages. Like this is something she would do all the time, where she would take the buds off of a certain plant. It's actually this plant. I didn't have the right photos at the time, not very many, and they were all blurry. So she's actually doing it on a different plant here. But she would take the buds, the new opening buds of this one plant. That was her thing. And that's all I have here right now. I will address this in a little bit about when you're at the stage of life when you don't have the time and energy to scrap. So I had my littles. I didn't have the time, energy, or the confidence in my style back then. So I didn't do much scrapping, and I took multiple year breaks between scrapbooking. So I'll address what to do about that. But really, this is all I have here. And then a few like small pages I was making in an album for my mom, and that never happened. So I'm not sure what to do with these pages. So I will, so that's this for her baby album so far. Here's the next album I have for her, and this would cover after first birthday, anything forward, and then they would be volume 1, volume 2 as I need to add. And these were, by the way, American We Are Memory Keepers classic leather albums, which are readily available and have lots of colors. That's why I when I did my reorganization, I switched most of my stuff to that, my themed albums. Previously I had just the American Crafts modern albums for like a Library of Memory style scrapbooking. And like I said, my other video will be all about my complete library organization. All right, so for this I do have somewhat of a title page about my daughter. I made this around 2012, 2011, because it was 2010, but I know I made it about a year or two after that. And then this was actually the first scrapbook page I ever made, and this is the companion page, her second birthday. That first opening page with the baby photo was my second page I ever made, ever. And then this is, this happens to go with it. It's one of the stories that stands out from that day. This would be sort of an event and a personality page. There's journaling here about how she, right when she was young, knew she wanted to be an artist. And then I have, so these would be, this was a fairly newer page, like made a year and a half ago. This one was made back in 2005. So you can see that the style is quite different, but I'm okay intermixing. I'm not one of the types that plans to do a whole album by a certain color or certain products. I like to keep everything very open and fluid. That works really well for me. I'm excited to see the styles and philosophies of all the other contributors to this class. And I know Theresa's big on planning, so I want to see what she has to say. So this is just about how dress up, and then this is just a, they just had a photo shoot at her preschool. I'm okay with having blank pages. If it bothers anyone, like I could just slide a pretty paper in there. And, you know, this is more of a, this is actually a song, but a personality page about how she loves wildflowers. This is sort of a mix of an event, like we were playing with glue, but also it's like I say, never lose your sense of wonder. So it's sort of an introspective page. I find that for myself, I'm better at doing pages later on. I like to have that introspection afterwards. This isn't a page about her losing a tooth. It's just a summary of things that were going on in her life, or her likes and dislikes when she was 6. But I just used a photo from that time. This is about, you know, getting into the pre-tween years and a little bit of emotions. And this is just a cute photo, and I typed up some words. So I have a mix of types of layouts I put in here. Like this is when she finally was confident enough to jump in the deep end of the pool. She's off the diving board after a whole summer of lessons. And then I have this when she first did her first her cooking by herself, and she was teaching her little buddy. So and these are great. Pocket pages are great for when you have a story that has multiple photos. So my philosophy is to capture big and little things. I'm by no means trying to capture everything. This is competition, gymnastics, and then this is more of a personality, the looks, her little mad look. So yeah, no means am I trying to cram every single little bit of their lives into their personal albums. I definitely have project lifestyle albums that capture some of the minutiae of life and the little things that they do and say. I'm trying to capture some of the fun times, their little idiosyncrasies or habits, some milestones, and just go with the flow as I'm inspired. This is her love of rainbow. This was an emotional page, sort of like you could see the emotion on her face, the tween years. And this is how she's always creative. This is how she named her plants that she started collecting. And this is just a fun photo with her jumping and doing the splits. So that's the kind of things that I have in her book. And then I'll move on to my other daughter now real quick. Here's Maya's year 1 baby book. It has some similar things. For instance, she has a title page with the same black and white photo and her name all big. And then I do have a little pregnancy page. I think the only pictures I took were right before she was born. That pregnancy was not very fun. My little taquito, because the other one I used to call my little burrito. She was long and skinny, and the other one was the more 50th percentile on both. So now this is out of order of what I'd want to do, because I did back in 2006 create a month spread of favorite photos that happened in a month, and my plan is to have that as an opener for the month, and then events from that month go behind it, and that's not what I have here. So I'm still in the process of reorganizing, and that's okay because it's all fluid. I think this is the only time I ever cut out around a person. I don't care for that. And then I still have to go back and date some. That's what I discovered when I was reorganizing this summer, that I was missing some. I do have a similar to the other child, their birth stone flower sign. And then so here is a double page spread. This would be the opener for her 6th month. I love this. Oh, by the way, I do have a process video for this. I'm going to try to link up or have little cards pop up to some of the newer layouts I have process videos for in case you missed those. So this would be her 6-month opener, and then I'd have some stories behind it with some pocket pages and big pages. And then I do have her first birthday spread. This would bother some people, and I'm okay with it right now until I know what's going to go behind here. And then I do have this here, which isn't supposed to be here. This is after her first birthday. So this should be in the other booklet. But that's the beauty of kind of my philosophy is it's okay, it's gonna move around. I don't stress too much about making sure that everything's exact in the album. At least not now. Maybe 10 years down the road where I feel like I'm done, then maybe there's a point where I have to say, okay, the organization has to be exactly this way. Here is an opening page for anything past 1 year, and this is definitely not like right after chronological. It's just an opening page. Another thing I like to do for my kids is stories that tell about their personalities over time. So these all gather together to show sort of how she likes to dress up, and she was very performy and color herself. So that's what this one's also from earlier this year. I have a process video. This is for the modules in this class. We each submitted sample layouts, and this is the one I submitted. So I talk a little bit about that more in the class. This is an older versus a newer layout. This is last year. I have a process video. This is much older, and that's okay. They're just in chronological order. Actually, yeah, this is 1 year, this is the other year. They jump, and I'll just be filling in the spaces. So, you know, she liked to dance, when she would enjoy bike riding, how she liked to color herself. A lot of personality pages is what I concentrate on at the kids' albums. But then this one would be more of an introspective about, like, I love the time when they're sleeping, and I wish I could keep them tucked in safe and sound all the time. And then sometimes it's just a cute photo. Sometimes it's a summary, just like the other child Claire had. One at 6 years old, I had a few little summaries of things they liked or disliked. And this is where I want to interject. One of the things that, especially if I know we beat ourselves up about being not caught up, not capturing it all, and being in times of life where it's too overwhelming or too busy, too exhausted, especially when they're little. Don't feel guilty, and my tip is just document as much as you can. Take the photos, take the videos, voice memos. I've come to rely a lot more on voice memos now that my children are in their teens and aren't keen for me to be busting out the camera all the time. I wish when they were little that I had phones with voice memos, because I would love to have captured their little voices more. But what I did have was a journal, just a blank journal that I would write little things, and it wasn't necessarily every day. I tried to do it fairly often at times. Other times it jumps around. And I would try to write down little things that were happening, milestones, like I know I have here at 18 months. I think for both kids, the vocabulary, everything I could think of that they knew how to say, little funny things that happened, and so forth. So I unfortunately stopped doing it, I think around 2008-ish, 2008, 2009, and then I picked up again. Let me go grab my iPad. I picked up again in Evernote, but Evernote is not letting me log into my iPad. I just have it on my phone. This is day one, and I don't know why it's not showing the screen brighter, because I have the brightness all the way up. But I started taking notes in my phone, which is a lot more convenient than having a journal. This was pre having a smartphone. Just try to write things down. I'm not saying journal. I am not a journaler, so don't like sit there and write a whole page every day. Every now and then, when you can think of something, even in the car, when I can stop, I will really quick write down things they say or funny things. You know, it can be even, you know, like this quote, "My nose doesn't have eyes, so I'm nose blind to everything." What kind of kid says that? It's so funny. Down to even like bad things that happen or bad days, and I'll just write things down. I feel like as long as we capture little bits and pieces, we are miles ahead from people that don't even scrapbook at all. So that's what my tip is to just try to capture. And if you can't get to the scrapbooking, just remember there'll be time later. There'll be seasons of life where you can do more, and it's good to just have had something captured. It'll jog your memory. Even the little bits will help you fill in gaps. That's what helped me with pages like this. Someone asked me about that because I'm like, she's not 8 anymore. She's 13 now. At the time I scrapped this, she was 12. But, you know, how do I remember? I wrote little bits down. That's one of my tips. How she loves watermelon, how she loved to play pretend, her little lovey, and something that she makes me do all the time still is fill up her water bottle. So those are the types of things, and a birthday. This is a birthday layout. So those are the types of things I put into my kids' individual albums. Then I also created another category, and this is, you know, personal preference. I have different categories in my whole library. One that I decided was important to me that I thought I would scrap that needed its own album is a sisters. This is relationship pages or things that apply to both, because I am not a fan of making the same layout twice to put in each person, or even multiple if you have multiple kids. Making the same layout and copies of it to put in each kid's. That is not part of my plan. So this one starts off with the first time they met for sisters in their relationship, and that's the older one, Claire, kissing the little one's toes, and that's what she said. Look at those cute toesy woesies. That's what opens up. Then this is something I made in, I think, 2014. Then I made this back in 2006, the first time I had the two girls, and I sort of did a little photo shoot on the bed. And you can see the difference in scrappy style. These are all older for sure. It's just how they had something that they both did. And this is more of when they started fighting, you know, the tween years were approaching. So a little introspective page there. This is more of the tween years when you can capture them. They still obviously love each other. And this is a page I made. This is Forget It Scrap. I have a process video for this. This is 2 years ago now, where I was supposed to do background stitching. And I love this page. I might take this out and just frame it because I just like it. So that's the sort of thing I have in here so far. I'm hoping to fill it up with lots more sister pages. The other part of my kids system is their school albums. So Theresa's class, it's called Kids in My Pocket Kids Albums, and she says she's covering from birth through 18. It includes the school years, but it isn't limited to school layouts. I do have separate school albums. I still haven't replaced these. I don't want to keep these because they are post-bound. This is what I started off back in 2008 probably, when Claire started kindergarten. And I don't have much in here because, like I said, not very prolific, took breaks and all that. So this is my sort of tip number 2, memorabilia. What I did, I'll show you a 2-part system here. First of all, I had the Becky Higgins school kits from way back. I think she sold them in 2006-07. And I had 2 sets. I did sell part of one, but I kept the envelopes. So I have these envelopes. These are convenient because they have the school year already printed. But, you know, she sells empty albums or the ones that don't say school. And you could even use just an empty page protector to put some memorabilia in as you're scrapping, and also just to keep it there for posterity. Things that you're not going to necessarily incorporate within the actual layout. So this is like one of her preschools, and then this is the second preschool she went to, and hopefully everything's still in frame. And then she had a third preschool. She actually had a fourth one that was only for a few weeks. So we moved around. And then I have just a preschool, start of school layout. These are photos that are specific to the individual kid is what I put, and it's about school, that I put in their individual school albums. And then, like I said, I have more pockets for each. I'll have one for each grade. This is why I want to, one of the reasons I want to replace this post-bound is these do not fit here well. Also, you just can't move things around, and that's probably one of the reasons I haven't really scrapped the kids' school as often. It's just not very nice to use these albums. Another tip I want to share with you guys has to do specifically with organization of products to use in kids' albums. So this is clearly the school related, and I have designated different categories related to kids. Now, I have these iris containers for my die cuts. If you've seen any of my room tours, I have a whole bunch of those. And I do have some that are specifically manufacturers or collections, or their themes like autumn and Christmas, or I even have basic shapes I use a lot, like there's one with just stars. But I also have ones that are for different stages of my kids' development. Baby has very clearly a collection of things that are from a lot of baby collections, say, or stickers that I collected when they were little. Things that would be nice to add to pages that are for when they were very young. And I do have, this is just die cuts, but papers, I have them separated in my paper storage. I do have a little category for babyish papers. And then I have a little kid, because this is just a slightly different, and a lot of these things are very old. So I'll sprinkle some of these here and there. And then I have a category for school. I'm a sucker for for school supplies. So I do have my school supplies separate, just like I have my Christmas stuff separate. Not as much, of course, but so it's nice to separate some themes that might help when you're scrapbooking the kids at different developmental ages. Another trick I want to share with you guys, or tip, has to do with memorabilia. So what I did a long time ago, let me move this out of the way real quick, because we're at the end of what I've got for my older daughter. I'll show you my younger daughters in a second. This is what I did for memorabilia. I have a whole set of these. These are Art Bin 12 by 12 paper holders. They come in 3 different heights. You could use the iris cases. They're for scrapbooking products, you know, like papers and stuff. Or you could use hanging files. You could use just manila folders, whatever. But what I did was I separated towards the end of every school year, I would separate memorabilia from that year, sort through, get rid of what I wanted to get rid of. And then these bins are labeled with the kid's name, how old they were, and what grade they were in, but also the school year range. That helps me, because sometimes when I'm thinking of a story or finding a photo, I decide whether or not it goes in the school album or in their individual albums, and also it just helps me figure out what was going on that particular time. So sometimes if I'm doing it in their individual album, I'm thinking about it in terms of how old they were. But if I'm thinking about school, I'm thinking about the grade, and it helps to know what the range of the year is for that. So that's what I've done, and it does help to do that, keep that up, do it regularly, because I think I stopped about the time my older one was in 5th grade. So my younger one was in 2nd, and everything else got thrown in huge bins to sort later, and years later I have not gone back to do that. So it was really nice to do this system, and I recommend you do something like that and do it as soon as you can. It also helps actually to go through them later as well. With some distance, you would decide actually to not keep some things, so that helps cull things down, or you take photos of some of the memorabilia instead and toss the memorabilia itself. So that's helpful too. And then this is my younger daughter's school album. Doesn't have as much even as the older one. Like I said, I haven't been very inspired to do too much of school recently. But this is her BFFs in preschool, which sadly they went to different elementaries and middle school. They will meet up again next year in high school, so I'm excited to see how that happens. This looks like it's a Christmas layout, but it's actually, the preschool used to have every season a little show. So this was the winter show that one year. So that's why it's in preschool. And this is her kindergarten first day experience. So my next thing I want to talk about is I do a little differentiation. So let me show you here. This was, I think these three layouts are all recent. This one I did a couple weeks ago when my daughter started school. This year, for the first time, my older daughter is not getting a ride from me. She's getting a ride from her boyfriend. This was indicative of her school experience. It's just for her. So this is going to go in her school album. Now, let me close this because this is not her school album. This one I made last year this was about her second grade first day of school. Again, this is just about Claire, her experience, how she was nervous, and about her friends and stuff. This is going to go in her individual school album. See, I'm doing some more school scrapping lately. This is also about Claire. It goes like this. It's a double pager. This is about her kindergarten. So I had her junior year, her second grade in kindergarten. First day of school. Again, this is just about her nerves, her teacher, the experience. So those obviously, for me, go in her school albums. Then I have this other category. So a lot of us have the tradition of taking first day of school photos of our children, and I have two, so most of my first day of schools have two kids. I felt like this is different. First of all, I'm not going to make two copies of this to put in each individual first day of school. So what I've decided to do is ones that are more the tradition of taking the first day of school photos, usually in front of the house, that's going to go in our project life of that year, because that tells the story. That's an event of that year, and I think I don't want to do like a separate book of just the first day of school photos. So I think it'll be nice to have this in our yearly family albums, different from their first day of school experience, if you catch my drift. So that's part of my overall plan of the albums. So I've told you a couple tips about keeping journaling, documenting beforehand. I showed you a little bit of my organization. I have one more thing I want to share with you about my whole entire kids album repertoire. And that is a few mini albums that I have, and going forward, a plan I have. So let me go with this real quick first. 2012, I made these albums for my daughters. I made them each as their upcoming birthday that year. And these are just little book of me. I think it's a really cute thing to do. You can do a different format, obviously. And back then I was doing mini albums on chipboard. This is one of those projects where there definitely was a overall plan. I kind of kitted for myself things that I wanted to use in their albums, tailored to their preference in colors and what their interests are. So this daughter likes bugs and flowers a lot, and Maya loved to dance and water. Those were big things. She's a water baby. So what I did was I followed basically the same formula, although not each page is in the same order. I have like an overall with a little quote. So this is a Madonna song. So just a picture of them around that age. And then I had some things of their interests. So like Claire was such a sweetie. She would make specialized cards and cute little things for people a lot. Maya it's all about the dancing in the water. What she's into at that time. I have a page. I try to capture something about them, their handwriting. Some photos in here too that they drew. Some things they drew. Talked about their overall interests, and then each one has a little transparency in the middle that between. I get that from Allie Edwards. She's big on putting a vellum or transparency between spreads. I really like that. Little montages about them, like what makes them special or things they're into. Some of their handwriting, things they say. I even had this one translated. What she wrote down back in 2007. She was 4. I have a spread of just with Dad, and I had him do the journaling about what they were into together, Dad a time. And then I have a spread of Mama time, and I wrote about them, specifically what I loved about them, and then little montages. Also had each girl write about the other girl for their own little booklet. So this is like Maya wrote for Claire, and this is what Claire wrote for Maya, and a little montage of photos between them. And this is supposed to have one of these pockets. And Miss Maya, way back, probably soon after she got this, cut hers open and spilled all the confetti glitter stuff. So I still need to remake that pocket. And this is before the fuse tool, so I did all stitching. And I try to capture, let's see, little sayings that they would say and about their lovey. So again, these aren't in specific order. I used a lot of monogram. And these are all on chipboard and they're Mod Podged on. So, I mean, this is just the format. I did that at that time. And at the end, I had a big photo of them, some word art. So yeah, and they had each their own self-portrait at that time. So she was, when I gave this to her, she was 9, and so she would have been 6. So that's what I did for them back then. I feel like I should do another little about you book pretty soon. I don't know what format that would take, but I made this decision this year. I'm trying out, if you saw my video at the beginning of the year, one of the things I was trying out kind of for the first time was a traveler's notebook sizes. So I have done a few of these. These are all, I think, process videos that I could link up. I have to remember to link up some of these process videos. So what I decided was, with my whole entire library of albums, I don't want my kids to take them off when they go to college or start their lives on their own, their adult lives. So I'm going to do a series of traveler's notebooks. I've started this in, this is a Freckle Fawn with their traveler's notebook pockets and in this album, TN cover. Traveler's notebook. It's what I'm going to do for them, a series of them. I don't know how many it's going to be in the end. I don't have a specific plan so far, only that I'm concentrating on stories that are either an affirmative type of story or a pivotal moment. I want to document my feelings about that particular child. So this is a photo of me with my daughter. She was a month old, and things I loved about that time of being a new mom. This is the moment that I caught a glimpse of her where I was like, she's no longer a child. That was that moment. So a few words about that. And this is about her love of art, and for her to encourage her to like just keep doing it, you know, just no matter what, cultivate that love and that skill. So that's all I've got here so far. So I don't know how long these will be, how many of them there will be, but I feel like a smaller format like this would be nice, because as they go off, they don't have, you know, if they're moving around a lot, if they're in a dorm, if they're moving around a lot, different apartments, before they settle into their own home, this will be a format that's easier for them to take along with them. I think nowadays kids really like the smaller formats on everything, because, you know, they're used to the phones, looking on phones. It's trendy, and I think it's a nice way to just, it's almost like it's a mini album where I'm concentrating specifically on them and sort of specific type of pages, stories. I'll probably throw in just fun ones as well, just fun photos or photos of me and them, photos of them with their dad and so forth. And that'll be a nice thing that they can carry along with them. I can always make more pages when they're gone, and send it to them so they can add to their little albums if they're not near me. The big albums, these guys are mine. They are my artistry. Artistry, is that a word? Yes. These are my artistry. They are my hobby. They are my joy. I get to look at them. I'm keeping them till I'm gone. They can come visit the big albums. We can reminisce together. These are mine. They're staying at home, and I will send them along with a series of TNs. So I thought that was a good way, because otherwise I didn't know, I have a hard time with TNs and thinking like they need to be a theme. I just don't do a regular, I have Project Life for ongoing family albums, and then I have specific albums. Okay, so I think it's time for me to end. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this was informative and helpful. Remember, this is in conjunction, I'm releasing this with the class from my friend Theresa Moxley from Larkin Design. It's called In My Pocket Kids Album Edition. I'm excited to see this class and go along with it as a student, because I think that, you know, this is my approach, and she's going to have her approach, very intensive, different modules covering lots of different areas like the planning, the supplies, the organization, going through her albums, and then we have the contribution of 5 other creatives, including myself. So I will have the info for the class down below. I will try to link up some process videos if you haven't seen them yet, and look out for videos coming up, including the complete album reorganization I did this summer. It'll have me, well, it's sped up, but you know, in process, in organizing. I had like 2.5 years worth of layouts to put away, and I had decided to completely reorganize my whole system. I got a whole bunch of new albums. I'll go over all that. I'll have what I did to label my albums. I had several different kinds of albums, so I actually had to buy some new labels for some that didn't have any, and then how I made the cute personalized ones. I'll have templates for you. I will have some fonts that you can go download for free and all that. So that'll be coming up, but go down below, check out Theresa's class. Pre-order time, class starts September 19th. You can pre-order with a special discounted price through the 26th, so go check that out. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. I hope this has been helpful. If you are a longtime subscriber, thanks for joining me on this one. If not, and you liked this, consider subscribing, hit the alarm bell so you can find out more about my albums in upcoming videos. And now I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for joining me. I will see you here next time.